Dave Morgan, CPA. I'm with Coastal Tax Advisors. We're up in kind of the Sabre Springs, Poway area, for those of you who are familiar with the area. I started working with Dave maybe 3 years ago, give or take. Yeah, it's one of those things where it just kind of came together, and actually the same thing with my wife. We don't really know exactly when our first date was. It just happened. So I guess he's in the same category to a certain extent.
It is California.
It's not a bad thing. I've been with her 20 years. So anyhow. Yeah, I'm a CPA. I'm a trained skeptic, a professional skeptic, and when the approach was presented to me, it was immediately, okay, well, yeah, that sounds really cool, but I kind of doubt that it all works that well, and I want proof. So I gave Dave some cases to work on and said, prove it. And lo and behold, he did.
And were these super easy, low-hanging fruit cases?
No, this was
Dave Morgan, CPA.
These were a few sort of special challenges. I think there were 5 files total. I know 3 of them were things that the client had been, they had been making Roth contributions, but their only income was from rental properties. It was all passive, so they can't legally make a Roth contribution. So we were trying to find creative ways to do retirement funding for them. And then there was another one, which I'm sure we'll probably talk more in detail about as this goes on, but the teaser of it is, they're twin brothers, fairly young, making very good income. And I was really struggling to find them more tax deductions. They were, I knew they were paying too much in tax, but we had already fully funded a retirement plan. They're too young for a DB plan, and I'm throwing my hands up, going, something else has to be done. I don't know what. And the best thing about this was they didn't ask me for it. I just identified it and saw that there was something that needed to be done. So if I can get ahead of the curve here, and I threw that one at Dave. That was the sort of the home run that came back on that, and long story short, we ended up saving them over $220,000 each that year for their taxes, and they continue to follow some of that stuff and are saving a couple $100,000 a year since then. I mean, it's significant. So at that point, I was sold. I'm good. He can tell me almost anything he wants. I just about believe it now.
And the funny backstory to that, I've told this to a couple times, but so this is probably 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, when we have an Elite Tax Planning Academy, very similar to what a few of you attended 2 weeks ago. And Dave and I happen to be sitting down next to each other at lunch, and I'm kind of trying to fill him out. And he had some of that what he described, skepticism to it. You say, yeah, I'm talking
professional skepticism.
Professional skepticism. That's what they pay you for, right?
Yep.
That's a mindset right there. So he says, yeah, I'm talking with Dave Dorr, and I think I've got 5 cases, and the way he described it was basically like it's a fool's errand. Like, we'll see if he can do something with these. And I didn't tell that to Dave Dorr because I didn't want to dash him up. Dave was very excited to be talking the first 5 cases. And so, we worked a little bit together behind the scenes and identified some of the specialists that we would speak to, and I just kind of sat back and crossed my fingers that the whole thing would unfold, and the specialists would be able to work with those clients. And sure enough, they did. So, can you talk a little bit, one of the questions that's come up is, from a CPA's perspective, we have some that are wrestling a lot with getting paid what they're worth, they're attracted to the revenue opportunity. You have others that really want a better kind of work-life balance, and they see this as being able maybe to focus and duplicate their better clients. And I'm sure there's a lot of other variations on why somebody might be attracted to working with something like this. For you, do you remember, or even now, from your perspective, what is it that was the driving motivation?
For me, I'm not particularly dollar sign oriented. I really love helping my clients, and I like solving problems. And so it was really frustrating when some of these things were coming up that I couldn't solve. So, you know, to find a solution to make my client happy, to solve things, especially in the case of the twins, where they weren't even asking me, and all of a sudden, boom, right in front of you is a $200,000 tax savings. I mean, they're probably going to be clients for life unless I really screw something up. But you know, they're pretty happy with me. They're going to be pretty loyal, and I really want that. You know, I'd rather have a small group of really loyal clients that respect me and value my input, my solutions, everything else, than to be like, sorry, an H&R Block where I'm just, you know, churning out tax returns. I actually don't like doing tax returns that much, so I don't mind doing them. I don't like doing them all the time. And so this is, you know, allows me the opportunity to solve the problems, and, you know, then all of a sudden I found out, oh, hey, wait, there's a way that I can get compensated as well, and why not? So it makes it even more attractive from the standpoint of, you know, I do value bill to a certain extent. I don't know if you guys have gone into any value billing discussions. Okay. But at, you know, at a certain, I mean, what do you bill somebody that who you just saved $200,000? You know, I'm still just doing a tax return for you. I just provided a really good solution for you. Well, if I get a share of a commission somewhere, then that kind of resolves that problem, and now I don't mind finding these solutions for them. It definitely is not, you know, I can only speak for myself, of course. It's not a motivating factor. I can speak for my partner too. We've had discussions about this. We don't search out solutions solely for compensation related things. The cool thing for us, we're tax nerds, we are geeks. Finding these new creative ways to solve our clients' problems, if we get paid or not, okay, fine, but look what we can do. And it just, I don't know, kind of, to me, it actually revived my drive in my career. I was starting to kind of get to a point where, you know, that rut everybody talks about that I never thought that I would get into. When this came about, when the whole elite opportunity happened, it's revitalized me, and now I charge into work every day. I don't mind if I have to work an 8 or 10 hour day, because I know what I'm working towards. It's much more enjoyable for me.
That's awesome. I mean, just the way you phrase that. But that's so much bigger.
I hope you got it on tape. I couldn't say it again.
I'll give you 60%.
That's great, yeah. Can you, I guess, before we go into questions, because I know the story that you referenced earlier.
Yeah.
I know that was, so here's the background of this. So he was at one of I think our very first event. Dave was at our very first event. So I've gotten to know Dave Morgan now. I get a text message that says, please call me. I think that was it. Or please call me ASAP, or it was
something like that.
It was something pretty short, you know. And it's not like we were texting back and forth all the time, like we're buddies. So it was unique to get a text from him, and then it's just like, please call me. Oh, please call me, I need to discuss something. And it could go one of two ways when you get a text like that. And I'm pretty sure he intentionally and probably just sent that and then smiled.
I'm not going to lie, it was well thought out.
So,
what's life without a little fun?
So I get that text message, and I call him, and for me, this is just from the outside perspective, but that conversation and something that happened within that experience was part of what had that light bulb go off, or change some of what you just described in terms of that renewed sense of energy or excitement. And can you tell that story that you...
Was that the wedding one? That was,
yeah. You discussed on the phone.
Yeah. So I was at my brother-in-law's wedding up in Sonoma, and just last year, I think. Yeah, I guess they've been married a year. It's my brother-in-law. And my brother-in-law has a pretty successful business, and, you know, in fact, the twins were referred to me from my brother-in-law, and he occasionally would drop my name to some of his friends, and birds of a feather flock together. You know, people who are successful tend to hang with people who are successful, and During the summertime, no, I guess it was early in the year, I had gotten a phone call from someone, yeah, you know, your brother-in-law referred me to you, and we talked for a while, and I told him everything that we could do and sort of, you know, the nuts and bolts of how our practice runs. And he said, okay, I'll get back with you. And I never heard from him, and whatever, you know, these things happen all the time. So I'm at the wedding, and I'm sitting down having a glass of wine in between the ceremony and the reception, and this guy comes over and he says, hey, I'm Alex. I met you at the, or I talked to you over the phone. And he starts giving me all the reasons why he didn't switch to me for the tax stuff. And before he could even get all of it out, excuse me, one of the twins comes over and grabs him and says, Alex, you have to use him as your CPA. I smile every day because of Dave Morgan, CPA. And I mean, honestly, it is the biggest professional compliment I've ever had in my life. What else do you say? I just went, yep. Okay.
Did he explain why he smiles every day? Or?
No, that was the one that he saved.
Wow, that's the mystery.
That was, oh no, the twins were that's the one that we saved that money for, and then there was more that extended beyond that where I don't know how, I mean, you know, a blind squirrel finds an acorn every now and then. We ended up with a premium financing solution that solved another problem that I didn't even know he was having. So, you know, I'm some kind of, you know, crystal ball wielding genius in his eyes. That's my opinion. But nonetheless, Alex is now also a client, and we haven't gotten to a point. He's got some messes to clean up. We're almost done with that, and you know, I'm going to go full speed with him pretty soon. He's an anesthesiologist and just married another person who's very successful. So it's going to, you know, it's good. This stuff's just going to like snowball into more and more of the same type of clients, and that's fine with me. I'd rather have them coming to me than me going out trying to, you know, knock on doors and get them to come with me. So
awesome. Your last question would be, so we've talked a little bit over the last kind of day and a half about how busy things have become with how much kind of opportunity there is. From how is this opportunity coming about? How are you identifying it? At what point do you bring Dave into the conversation, or is it coming organically through?
Well, I mean,
what role does the CIQ play in that?
Yeah, first I'm, you know, I'm annoyed that he's here for 3 days because that means we don't get to work with him. It's okay, Dave. It's okay. Yeah. So what we have developed is sort of a process or a procedure almost of how we're going to handle certain cases. And it initially started out, even after those first 5, since everything has become a little more formalized, you know, I identified some low-hanging fruit through my tax software, and I sent out 5 of the CIQs. And I was expecting to get a couple of them back. I got all 5. And then in the process, I had another client call and ask me about something, and I immediately sent her a CIQ and got it back. So I now have 6 CIQs, and we have a year and a half worth of work to do. So I'm a little bit like, okay, how are we going to get all this done? So the CIQ part, and just sort of, I mean, that I kind of consider that a little more of a shotgun type approach. Not quite a shotgun, but I mean, I'm finding certain people that I think could benefit from some of this, but I need to know more because I don't necessarily work closely enough to know everything about them. The CIQ gives us the information to sort of reveal some extra stuff we can do. Then there's the other type of client where, while we're working through things, having a meeting with a client or whatever, an issue comes up, and we, you know, immediately, you know, our CPA sense is to go into problem-solving mode right away. What Dave and I have been working on lately is stepping back from that a second. Don't get too excited. Get a CIQ done first, because there may be more to it than what we're seeing or what the client initially revealed in that meeting. So we're trying to make the CIQ a much bigger role, much more important role in the whole process, which, like I say, given what happened with 6 that we got, kind of scares me a little bit. That's a lot of stuff to do. I want to clone Dave, but but he's now he actually has some office space in our office. He's there usually about 3 days a week, and so it's easy when we run across stuff, have questions. I just leave the stuff on his desk, and he leaves stuff on my chair, right? On my chair. whether I'm sitting in it or not. And yeah, so that's kind of how we've been handling things so far.
So sometimes in the last couple of years, things have just come up from a conversation with the client.
Yep.
You realize this is something the client should address.
Yep.
Dave's in the office, or we have the relationship with Dave. Let's bring him into the conversation now.
Pretty much, yeah.
Sometimes it's been more proactive that you're reaching out to the client.
Yeah, most of the time, our clients don't really yet quite grasp everything that we can do, which, anybody who's had a relationship with their tax preparer, you just primarily are thinking tax stuff. You don't really understand everything that we can do. So we still have work to do on our end to let people know what our office really does. And CPA equal tax preparer is not really a thing. We solve things, we solve problems, whether it's with a business or with your tax situation. We have solutions for that, and we're trying to sort of train the client base that that's why you're working with us. That's the value we're going to bring to you is solving these problems. And I do have some clients who definitely get it early on, and they'll ask me some really weird stuff that I can't help them with, and I don't know how you can get Super Bowl tickets, I'm sorry. But they ask me, and that's good because they're thinking about me before anything else. And it's way easier when they're thinking of me first than coming in, giving me their stuff, or having a meeting and say, look what I did, and me going, oh no, now you're screwed. So yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, good. So let's take a couple questions. Yes, Nika.
Would you say that when Dave initially approached you, he helped you discover your why, and did you even realize that you had kind of lost your purpose or your why or your passion for wanting to
I initially would have to say, right away I'd say no, because honestly of my skepticism. It was kind of like, yeah, okay. I get approached by a lot of people all the time, and so sure you're gonna revolutionize things. But like I say, it turned pretty quick to, I didn't expect to do this with any kind of revelation coming from it. It just sort of happened, and that was really inside of me. I'm getting the solutions that are making my clients so happy, and that drives the fire inside of me. So I don't know that it wasn't anything specific that a light came on and went, oh yeah, this is brilliant. It was just all of it came together at the right time and in the right way.
Good question. Kim.
I approached Anthony yesterday about this a little bit. So I'm not currently involved with a CPA at this point, but I do run across a lot of clients because I do like retiree planning. And so they might say, oh, I want to run this past my CPA. So from that perspective, I can understand that. And also, if somebody's a business owner, coming in that back door, what would be the most appropriate way to not, I guess, offend or insult or make the CPA look bad if we are recommending a strategy that they go, oh, my CPA has talked to me about that, and then try to put that in to try to start a relationship. I don't know if I phrased all that correctly, but
I think I understand. I think I get what you're getting at. The harsh reality is that most CPAs, and if I can make up a statistic, probably 98% of CPAs are not going to necessarily care about, understand, or know most of these solutions. Some of them who might be a little more enlightened are going to be overly skeptical about it because they don't have the education about it. Generally, as CPAs, we are knowledge hungry. If you can get an opportunity to help educate the CPA on what's happening, then they're probably more likely to accept it. You know, there's certain things that are, you know, bad words with CPAs, tax preparers. You mentioned conservation easements. Yeah, they've been in the news a little bit lately, but that's a different kind of thing. It's not a broad sweeping conservation easements are bad. It's this one little thing. If you're not doing it that way, you're going to be fine. There's a lot of nuances to the tax law about it, but when I get my news briefing, if I see something about conservation easements, now I'm heightened to it and I dig into it. Previous to now, I would have gone, okay, whatever, I don't know what that is and I'm not going to go learn about it on my own.
So then would it be good to kind of preface it with the client and say, you know what, most CPAs out there don't necessarily know these strategies, but it's super important we bring your CPA into the bringing your CPA into the process and maybe try and do it that way and then try to loop in, as opposed to, well, let's move forward and bring experts in and now we got the two of them.
Yeah, because at that point you're going to put the CPA on the defensive right away. They're going to shoot it down out of pride, or they're going to make it difficult. They may not shoot it down. I mean, we have an ethical obligation to do what's best for our client, but they're going to, instead of focusing on all the positives on it, all they're going to do is reveal the negatives. You know, you definitely, if you're dealing with a client who does have a long-standing and working relationship with their CPA or their tax preparer, you want them in part of that conversation. If it's not somebody that they're particularly working close to, then maybe it's time for them to start working with someone else, like the CPA that you get, teamed up with, because people need to look at different solutions these days.
Thank you.
Victor.
So how can we as new advisors into this sphere break down that professional skepticism?
Persistence and proving it, honestly, is the
Can you explain persistence?
Dave is, I think, part pit bull. Fairly sure. But I mean that in a good way. In that he knew that we kind of understood and we had this opportunity, but he wouldn't let us forget it. He wasn't a pest about it, but he was always reminding us that he was there and there was something that could be done. And then when I handed him the files, it was almost like, go away from me, take these files and just go do something. I kept him away for like 3 weeks. It was awesome. And then he came back, and then I moved him into my office. What am I doing?
So was it the calls, emails, or?
It would be either calls or emails, just the, hey, you would just check-ins, just general check-ins. Do you have time to talk about some stuff? And he, I think maybe he brought in some, he would bring in, oh, there's this idea or this opportunity. He would just sort of tease us with enough stuff, and it wasn't anything that wasn't let's go have lunch. He wasn't asking for a huge time commitment. Can I drop by for 15 minutes? Okay. And it helped us kind of understand that he wasn't he wasn't the financial advisor that we get phone calls from blindly constantly. Hi, I'm a new financial advisor with Morgan Stanley. Sorry if any of you are from Morgan Stanley, just chose them today. Last name's Morgan. Or whoever. And I want to talk to you about trading clients with you. I've had that call so many times. I don't want to trade clients with somebody. So, it took a while for me to go, okay, you know what, he is different. And the fact that he was always showing up there, always present, it helped us to go, all right, yeah, this isn't one of your regular slimeball stockbroker guys. Again, sorry. I know that you guys aren't that because you're in this room. And it allowed, I think it allowed him to kind of get on the inside with us a little bit, and then when, the proof in the pudding, I have to see results in order to sign off on something, to say, yeah, I like this program. When he came back with actual solutions, that was huge. You might have to get redacted files or whatever, keep things anonymous, but that's easy enough to do. So.
You mentioned a couple of item points, and I want to just kind of go over them with you to get them, if you think this is you alone or if it's of your industry. But
I am a little different.
you are a little different, which makes you consistent with your industry. But, you know, accountants who are frustrated with their work-life balance or concerned that their revenue streams are being compressed, or maybe worried that their profession is changing from solving problems for their clients and moving more into just information gathering and input. Those are challenges, is what I heard you say, for CPAs.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not really a secret. The unfortunate thing is there's a lot of people in the industry who just kind of have blinders on, and they think that they feel a little hopeless about it, and like, I can't do anything else, and this is what I've chosen to do.
So those are CPAs or accountants that I should have an introduction with?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, it does take, I believe it takes someone that has a little bit of an open mind to do it. If you go to a 70-year-old CPA who's only keeping his practice around so that he can, you know, fund his annual summer cruise to Alaska, that's not somebody who's looking to change their whole practice. You know, I'm 46 years old, so we started this right around when I was 43 or so. You know, I've always been probably a little more progressive thinking than a lot of my colleagues, and but I think that I think it is younger people who are going to see the benefits of this better, because we want, you know, especially the generation behind me, work-life balance has become a huge thing for everybody.
And those were the points: work-life balance, revenue streams being compressed, and at the end of the day, solving client problems and not just data input, because you didn't do this to go to H&R Block and work. So, and that's, I mean, I'm just sitting here writing a, you know, kind of the elevator speech, you know, who a good referral for me is that.
Yeah, I mean, as far to address the work-life balance side on my end, you know, I used to be the typical person. I'd sit in the office, and you know, my first tax season having an actual brick and mortar office, not working from my home, I was in the office, no exaggeration, 18 to 20 hours a day. Yep. Now that also was coupled with, I happened to acquire a practice from a CPA who had passed away. There was no transition period. It was all really horrible timing. I went from having 125 clients to having 700 like that. So there was a lot to be done. Yeah, and that was nasty, and I vowed to never have that happen again. And initially, my only solution to never having that happen again was to get rid of a bunch of clients. But if I get rid of a bunch of clients, my revenue is going to dip. So I've got to replace revenue somewhere. So I'm playing this game, and like on a treadmill of, okay, now this, then this, and I've been successful at sort of working my way up. But then I got to this point where it was almost like I was out of tricks. You can only raise a fee for a tax return to a certain point, and I need more tricks to have. And I was still working regularly, you know, 10-hour, 12-hour days, even when it wasn't tax season. Tax season was 14-hour days. Now, I train in jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I used to be able to go in the evenings when it was close to my house. I was going 2 days a week because I didn't have time to go anywhere else to pick up extra classes. My coach opened his own dojo in Carlsbad, a significant distance from where my office is, 22 miles from my office, and I now go 3 days a week at noon, and it doesn't even faze me. It's like, that's what I do. My day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I come in, I start working, oh, it's 11:20, I gotta leave, I go up to Carlsbad, I do jiu-jitsu, I train for an hour and a half or so, I get back down to the office, and eat some food and do some work, and then go, oh, time to go home and get the dogs. Okay, you know, I mean, that has become the whole thing, and I'm not stressing about, I've got to go and find work, I've got to go and do this, and there's all this stuff to do.
What would you say is rule of thumb? I did some research in my area, pulling up from different databases, CPA firms, and one of the things that I saw was, you know, if they had 22 employees of the firm, their revenue was about 2.2 million, about 100,000 per employee. Is that accurate? You know, I mean, because if it was a 6-person firm, it was 600,000. Is that, do you have a rule of thumb?
So we are actively in process of interviewing a couple of people for that AUM aspect. And at that point, that's going to probably annoy most of the financial advisors who refer us business. But it shouldn't matter, because what we can do, regardless of that, we should be able to generate enough business, and whether it's in commission sharing or just additional fees that we can charge, I think it's going to more than make up for it. So we're trying to sort of bring all of these solutions under one roof, so that we can keep better control of everything that's going on.
Very nice. Very good.
I'm excited about the future.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Appreciate you
No
coming
problem.
down.